Welcome everybody to another episode of the Believers Club. We are back. We're so excited because today's episode is packed with a lot of good stuff. As you guys know, that me and Serena, we come out with a new episode every Wednesday. So make sure to check Facebook, Instagram, YouTube is where we publish our episode, but make sure to keep up with updates, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tell your mom, tell your neighbor, tell your best friend. We're here.
Yeah, tell everybody.
And we're stoked for today's episode because today we are talking about business with friends or family. Business with friends, business with family, someone that you're close to.
For sure, yeah. It's a topic we can clearly relate to because by now we are both friends. We've known each other for a long time. And things can get very tricky because there's a lot involved when it comes to a business, and especially if you're not used to being in business with no one other than yourself.
Yeah, it is kind of think about it like this. So Serena and I were both in business individually on our own, right? She was doing makeup, I was doing coaching. And so when you're in business by yourself, it's one of those things where like you're the only one that is accountable for everything and anything, right? Yeah. And when you decide to do things on your own, you really don't have to consult with anybody. You can work in your own style. But then when you come together and you have to adapt to another person's working style, it really takes communication and figuring out things because we're actually, I think, lucky in a sense, Serena, because most people can't actually make it through doing business with friends or family. Yeah. And Serena and I have had to figure out each other's working style, right? It's situations where we're both like, butting heads about certain things, but we realized very quickly the only way to fix it is to communicate with each other. And Serena said something really, really outstanding to me the other day. She said, it takes, as soon as I said it, I forgot it.
And that was it, guys.
She said something along the lines that is as much as you are someone who has to speak up and communicate, you just as equally, if not more, have to be someone that listens. And it can be very difficult when somebody is coming to you with something that they are giving you feedback on.
Yeah.
Because it's personal. You take it personally because it's something that you're not doing or something that you are doing and it doesn't connect with the other person. So that's what we want to talk to you guys about today, because it is possible to go into business with a close one, but there's tips and tricks on how to make this work.
There's a lot of little things you have to account for that you don't, just like with anything, even with yourself, like everything we've talked about so far, it takes time and it takes figuring out things to realize what is needed to make things work. And like we were just talking yesterday. I was like, what did I say to her? But that was yesterday. We said communication is like the number one thing that helps. And I think I saw it somewhere, it was a quote or something, but it's like, communication is everything, but you have to make sure comprehending it and actually taking it in and understanding and acknowledging what the person is coming to you with. That's the whole thing. Communication by itself won't cut it. So with us, that was the number one thing that started. Like for me, I'm a very fiery, passionate person. Harj has told me this, I'm pretty sure I've made that conclusion now. Like I am a very passionate person. I'm very strong in my opinion, or opinions. But I do have a soft side, and I do have the empathy and understanding that as I'm getting older is getting better and better. I'm getting better at it. So for us, there was times like just starting with us, like running late, things like that were catching up. And one person's running late, the other person's sitting there, like I'd be sitting there waiting, like making a face and not being able to communicate what I needed to tell her and ask her to hopefully, at least tell me or whatever it is, like make it there on time or whatever it is, that having that uncomfortable conversation. That was the first conversation I think we talked about. If you remember, that would have been
it was the first time
that was arising.
Look, guys, we're just so comfortable with each other. We're just calling it out. We're telling you who fucked up. Yeah, no, that used to be like my initial thing where it was like, Serena is, I learned about Serena that she is very punctual, right?
Yeah,
And
I
with
try to be.
me,
Yeah.
I'm like the opposite person. I'm just very like laid back, da 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 da.
Yeah.
But I had to learn very quickly in our
Yeah.
process that this isn't going to work, right? Because
Yeah.
you don't want to walk into a recording session, with
Yes.
a coworker or a business partner that is not up to it, that is not feeling good, even though they're saying that they're fine, but
Yeah.
it's not fine because you can hear it, you can feel it, and it just makes the whole situation very tense,
And
right?
like I said, I'm great at not talking about it right away because it takes me a minute to
This
like
is
actually
Serena.
calm
She's like,
down.
I'm like, Serena, are you good? Like, there's
Yeah, yeah, I'm good.
no, she's like, I'm fine. Let's get to recording. I'm fine. I'm fine.
Yeah.
At the end, she's like, all good. And I was like, what was going on earlier? She's like, well, you were late. And I was like, oh yeah, no, okay, I'm sorry. And it happened a couple of times, and then we really had to sit down and as that, and I started to realize very quickly, like we work very differently, but this is also an opportunity as individuals to get better, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
as one thing gets better, then you start to actually um, it was almost like at one point, right, you take a look at yourselves and you look at the list and you're like, these are the things that I'm really really good at, these are the things that I'm really really bad at. And it
Yeah.
took us actually sitting down and meeting with each other, and I don't want to say calling each other out, but really saying like, listen, like, I have a list, you have a list, right? These are things that I'm really good at, these are things that I'm not so good at, these are things that you're really good at, these are things that you have to admit that you're not so good at, right? Because
And this wasn't one time sitting down. This was over time. Like that's like we have been working on this for a while, and it probably led for like 5 months, I would say, till we probably had the last conversation. I think now we've been good for like a month or so since we started. Everything's
yeah.
been Gucci. But before, it took us many sittings. Like I said, I'm the type of person, I can't come up with, like, I can't confront people right away. I can't. Like, I have conversations with myself for probably months before I can actually express the truth to the person, which I'm working on, just kind of getting it out and communicating that to the person, and hopefully they understand it. And that's what it took
Yeah.
us 5 months, but we had those hard conversations that friends have with each other, knowing that it might upset one another, and like we might be like, what if we, whatever may come, because we had a relationship way before this for
Prior
many
to this.
years.
Yeah. And like, you know what, guys, communication with friends is one of those things you have to think about when you're in business with each other. The way that you communicate with each other is really important. So like, we'll talk about the texting one, because I know that was one that we talked about in the audio, right?
Yes.
That was, I think, a defining moment in this business relationship. So understanding how the other person communicates, right? So for example, um, we were constantly messaging each other back and forth throughout the week, like, hey, like, I have an idea on this, I have an idea on this, what's your thought on this, update on this, da 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 da, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
Very, very
it got
busy.
out of it, yeah, it got very scattered and very busy. And we both run like our own businesses as well on the side, right? Serena,
Yeah.
doing her makeup, I'm doing my financial education and life coaching. So it's our lives, nonetheless to say, are chaotic. And I
Yes.
remember there was this one week in particular, because we were going through a lot of changes. We were letting go of our editor. We were taking more on upon ourselves. And, Serena, I think she was trying to get a hold of me one day,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And she sent me a message and she was like, hey, I have an idea about Spotify or something. And I remember seeing the message, and it was like I was at like a family birthday party, and then I went into a client meeting, and then
yeah.
after the client meeting I had another client meeting.
It was a busy day on her part,
It
and
was like,
mind you, I'm sitting at home at that point.
yeah, so you're just chilling at home this day, and I'm like literally driving from Ladner to Richmond to Burnaby to Surrey to Burnaby again, like on the go, right? And I remember I see the message pop up, right? And I'm like, okay, her message is on there. Now I go on WhatsApp because I have a work WhatsApp group that I'm talking to them about the client meeting that I'm going to, right? Like, it's like live communication about things that are actually happening in the moment. And I'm not opening up any other messages, right? And I see something come in, oh, I have an idea about Spotify. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, it's not like urgent. Let's like, I'll get back to this at the end of the night. right? So then, but I keep hearing these like noted ding, 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 but I'm driving. So then I put my phone away and then I head straight into the client meeting. Soon as the client meeting is done, I think it was maybe like 8:30, and I finally take my phone and I go to the washroom.
This is probably like 3-4 hours after, 3-4 hours,
Yeah,
2,
probably.
something
Same
like that.
day. The same day,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So finally, I'm like, okay, I catch a breath. I open up my phone and I.
We've had, okay, guys, mind you, we've talked about this already. Like we said, it's on the audio, which it was gonna come out as well. It'll be a different type of way we express it at that point. But it's funny because we've literally talked about this issue, like the messaging. But yeah, go ahead. It's just funny.
That's why we're laughing.
I'm just gonna turn it back.
What is it?
Oh,
I opened up the messages and I got like 7 or 8 messages, and it started off, and mind you, I haven't read any of them yet, right? So the first one came in at like 1 p.m. and it's like 8:30. And I see the first message is beautiful, lovely. Hey, hope you're doing really good. I'm so excited about the next episode. Hey, I have an idea on this podcast, da 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 da. And then it just went into like, I don't appreciate you not messaging me, da 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 da, you're ignoring me. And it went totally opposite, right? And my emotions went from like laughing to like, oh shit, in that one sitting. And I was like, I didn't even see any of these messages, right? So this was what the misunderstanding was. Serena thought that I had read all of the messages and I put the messages aside and I just didn't contact her back, right? When it was actually the opposite. I was like, Serena's obviously sending me a lot of messages, so this means to me like I need to take the time out to actually like read these all at once, right? And get back to her. It seems like it's something that she wants to talk about. So I'm not going to message her between things scattered, right? So I'm like, okay, she's messaging a lot. I'll message her at the end of the day. And I had to, because I struggle with this sometimes. I struggle with being like, I'm very non-confrontational, just like same as Serena. But I struggle with being like, okay, hey, hold on, here's the situation, right? And I had to do that. And I don't want to consider it like putting anybody in place or checking anyone like that, but it's about communicating your stance to somebody, right? And owning up to when something needs to be owned up to. Like when I was like running late, I'd be like, okay, you know what, fuck yeah, like you're right, and this can't happen anymore. In this situation, I was like, okay, because I love Serena, I need to give her feedback because this is not what's actually happening, right? So I said it to her, and you know what, she actually took that like a champ, and she was like, okay. So we had to sit down and talk to each other because we were starting to realize in one another, hey, these are your flaws. As your friend and as your partner, it's my job to actually point these out to you because we need to be able to make ourselves better and the business better. Right?
yes.
And we had to, and I was like, you know what, let's just sit down. So we sat down, and from beginning to end, we talked about, okay, what are your challenges with me? These are my challenges with you. And we just like laid it out all on the table. And it's not until you put everything on the table that you actually see what's going on.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you put all of your stuff on the table and the other person puts all their stuff on the table, you can actually see their stuff. And they can see your stuff. And you
The
can start to make
vulnerability
sense
is
of,
there.
like,
Now you're both vulnerable.
yeah, we had to actually sit down and like go list by list, like, okay, these are the things that person A contributes, this is the things that person B contributes, and like lay it out so that each person can see how this is working and what needs to be fixed, right? And when you get to the root of what the person's actually upset about, you can actually then tell them what's going on, right? Yeah. So we talked about that, and being friends, you have to be very careful of your level of respect in your communication, because not only can you possibly tarnish a business, you can tarnish your friendship. And we've come to the agreement that we don't ever want to do that. We don't ever want to, at the end of the day, if all else falls through, we want to keep the friendship. But in order to be able to make this business work, because we both are aligned, you have to make sure that the people you go in business with actually want the same thing. Because how many
Yeah.
times do people go into business with each other and the idea of it is awesome, but you don't actually have the same end vision?
Yeah.
That's where you're going to screw up when you have these sort of conflicting moments. You remember, well, no, I'm in this just as much as you because I see just as much as you, right? Therefore, here are my issues with you. These are your issues with me. Let's fix it. And in one conversation, we came up with a solution. If your conversations with your friends or family are not based around a solution, then you're wasting your time.
Yeah. For
That
sure.
is a huge thing. And I remember at one point in the conversation, we just said, okay, what's the solution? Now that I understand you, now that you understand me, we learn things about each other. For example, Serena learned that I'm somebody that is like, I usually text people like at the end of the day. And I said, you know what? Before that, it used to be really bad. I'd not message people for days. And I
Yeah.
said to her, listen, I will always be sure to message within 24 hours,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And our solution was, if it is something that is like, if we need to get a hold of each other, like like it's like, I need an answer by today, let's just call each other, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you make things so much easier if you just call because if I'm driving, like I'll pick up and I'll say, hey, oh yeah, that's awesome, da da da, let's do this. If Serena's busy that day, I can give her a call instead of waiting for a message back or whatever it is, and we can get the situation figured out, right?
Yeah.
And then the other solution we came up with, right, just to kind of paint a whole picture for you guys, is we said, since we have an issue with communication timelines, right, why don't we just like scrap having to communicate throughout the week in general, unless we have to? And why don't we set, like a normal job would, why don't we set a weekly meeting
Yeah.
to talk
Yeah.
about all the things of the week? Because if we want to treat this like a business, we have to treat this like a professional business, where when you're at work, I'm sure, wherever you are, you have weekly team meetings, updates on what's going on and game plan for the week, right?
Yeah.
But we were just kind of messaging each other like here and there and trying to get things figured, and it's disorganized. So we said, okay, let's meet every Sunday, and everything that we have to get talked about for the week, let's talk about it here, so that we are not waiting for responses. We get
Yeah.
it figured out, and boom. And that was the best thing that we could have done. That actually saved this relationship and this business.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. We had to check ourselves. Like I had to check myself. I had to check on the things that I knew I was going to bring to the table with strength, and the things she's bringing to the table with strength. So we had to really, like she said, it was a hard conversation. Like she had to literally, like she had to stand up for herself. Somebody was making her feel like she wasn't doing enough, where it wasn't even like I needed her to get back to me. I'm like, she's online, she's able to check the messages, not knowing she could be driving around, walking around. Because sometimes we think that person, because I do that now. Sometimes I'll open my WhatsApp, I have one person to reply to, there's other messages, but I'm not going to get to that right now because I'm on the go. But if I'm sitting at home, I don't know that, and because I haven't called her, I don't know that. So
Yeah.
she's actually running around. I'm thinking, oh, she's online, because you can see that on WhatsApp, that she could reply. So I'm in that, like, why isn't she replying? I know she wasn't ignoring, but just, like you start to question things. Or is she not serious? Or is she, all these things, like, because we talked about
Goes
it.
into a loop.
Yeah, like so that's where she saw the message. I'm like, oh, why, like, yo, let me know, I need to know right now, like, kind of not having patience. And when she came back, she had to stand up for herself and be like, hey, first of all, I don't appreciate you talking to me like that, you know what I mean? Like, I can't remember the exact,
I
like, how
basically said to her, I was like, yo, calm the F down.
calm it down, like, watch how you're talking, like, all pretty much like, yo, first of all, respect me, you're fucking equal, chill. And I was like, you know what? And me, 10 years ago or 5 years ago, I'm working on myself I would have been a different reply back maybe. But I'm at a point in my life, I realized, no, I'm fucking up. So I need to chill. I need to respect what she's telling me. And now how are we gonna actually find a solution? Like she said, how are we gonna fix this? How are we gonna figure out what was the issue that was arising out of it? What we had to do was schedule it in. We get up for work. I feel like sometimes, even right now, like, a lot of us aren't working, so we don't have a schedule. Like, I don't have a schedule. But just like you get up to go to a job and go work for somebody else, I think I've said this before, schedule everything in. So now it's like every Sunday, no matter what, like, but we're open with communicating. Like she said, like if it's emergency for her, or must call. Don't
Yeah.
message. That's another thing, is like the new life, right? We text, so depending on quickly messaging, just call. It'll be so much quicker. But
And it sometimes it takes time to get used to that level of communication. I remember like we had a I can't even remember what happened, but we had a situation where it was like we needed to get a hold of something or whatever. We needed to do something. And I remember saying to Serena, I was like, Serena, call me, man. Like, you will get me if you call me. And it's
yeah,
just a matter of like, we have to see like what the other person is dealing with, and we have to communicate with them. And I always say, guys, if you're in business with people, like, one thing I've learned is don't forget how to call people. Like, we're so forgetting how to get on the phones.
we're so dependent on emails and
Yeah.
texting. Yeah.
Mine and Serena's entire altercation that we just talked about the whole messaging thing, was a miscommunication in translation because of texting.
Yeah. Yeah.
If this was a phone call, this wouldn't have even been an issue, right? And that's the thing, is like, but we're all guilty of it. All of us, we're all guilty of like falling into the whole like, we need to like, oh, did I lose you, Serena? We all fall guilty into the whole, we need to like get a hold of people like fast, right? And that's not necessarily the case. I think Serena, oh, and she's off, but that's okay. Oh, and she's back.
Oh, kidding.
I lost you for just half a second, but it's okay. I was just talking about how, it's really important for us to like remember those communication skills again, like calling people and resolving issues fast, because when we text each other, everything can get lost in translation and we lose the human touch, right?
Yeah.
I think Serena and I have done a good job in the sense that like we're opposite people with the same vision,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, in the sense that for me, I'm not necessarily like on my phone, or I don't, I would say, I would say that I'm very passive and laid back, but sometimes in business that can be challenging too, right?
Mhm.
Because if you have somebody that you're working with that is, you get things done a little bit slower, but if you're in business with somebody who is like fast paced, right?
Yeah.
Then it can be very challenging, right? It can be
Yeah.
challenging for the person on this side and challenging for the person on that side, right? And it's about
Yeah.
actually coming together. So I've had to learn how to be a little bit more organized, right?
Yeah.
And to like step up my speed a little bit. And
Yeah.
Serena's had to learn patience, and she's had to
Yeah.
learn to like, because at the end of the day, again, it comes down to, how does Serena do business with herself? She's probably like constantly really, 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 really fast, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily allow room for another person,
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And in a situation with me where it's like I'm very, very laid back and very chill, that can sometimes be very frustrating to somebody who's used to getting a result really quickly, right?
Yeah.
So it's about coming together and being like, okay, I'll speed it up a little bit, you slow it down a little bit,
Yes. Yeah,
right?
exactly. Respect each other, meet each other where we're best.
Yeah, because we have different skills, right?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
and the crazy thing is, our individual skills actually meet the speed that we're at, right? Like, Serena is a freaking fantastic with technicalities as well. Like,
Yeah.
this feels like computer genius, like super smart with like how to like get that kind of shit
Okay.
done.
That's extra sauce on that one.
I'm just
But
saying.
I'm the person that's like technical with our side of it, and she's everything else. As you can see, like I can't tell a story. Like right now, I stutter. I can't even talk. Like this one right here is like the organizer of a lot of the other things besides what my strengths are. So she has her strengths and I have my strengths.
Yeah, and we had to come to the table and talk about that and realize that if we didn't have the other person, we wouldn't be able to do this
Yeah.
the way that we do
Yeah.
this,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we had to understand and respect what each person brought to the table, and then understand their communication style and understand what the solutions are, because there's a lot of layers to things like this. And this is why people struggle with their friends, because I'll tell you one thing. Just because, and this is not in particular to our business, it's our podcast, in another business that I'm a part of as well. I have friends in a business that I would not necessarily do business with. I
Yeah.
keep them as friends, but I will not do business with them. And
Yeah.
that's okay, because some people are not, it's like how Michael Jordan says, right? I don't know if you guys have seen The Last Dance. Serena, if you have,
Amazing. Amazing
you've
documentary.
seen
Yes.
it, right?
Yeah.
So he says one thing that's like actually stuck with me right now. He says, I'm just ready to win. I'm focused on winning. And if you are not ready to play and meet me at my level, if I'm going to raise the bar and the standards for this team, and
Yeah.
if you're not ready to meet me there, it's going to be hell for you,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so that's why I think about oftentimes with friends, and in our situation, we literally said to each other, this is my standard. This
Yeah.
is where I expect this thing to go.
This is where you
And
need to meet me, and this is where I'm gonna meet you.
can we meet each other here? And the funny thing is, we were actually both on the exact same page. We
Yeah.
were on the same page, but we both realized that, well, we want to be on the same page, but what we're doing individually, like with our bad habits, is not actually what we're saying we're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
We were falling short of the promises we were kind of making.
Because if we want to be here, like we say that, like we were telling each other, like, okay, this is our standard, this is our success that we want to see, then below here is all of the shit that we need to work on individually, right?
Yep.
For
Yep.
me, it was like, get organized. For Serena, it's like patience, communicate.
Yeah.
For me, it was also like, um, for me, it was also about, yeah, mine was like communication as well. And just understanding where the other person's flaws are so that we can both elevate to here, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was a really, really big thing. And sometimes that doesn't happen in business. People don't want to actually meet you here, and that's fine. Keep them as your friends. Don't do business with them.
Yeah. Because that, again, I don't know how
Even
many
if it hurts
episodes I
their
mentioned
feelings.
this. Yeah, exactly. And I don't know how many episodes I mentioned it, but ego and pride is the biggest killer at the end of the day. And that's, I had to check my ego. I had to check my pride, chill out. Not Harj isn't out to get me, and Harj knew I wasn't out to get her. Another thing we had to come to was, what's the main focus? It's the business. We had,
Mhm.
if anything, like there was a one time, I don't know, it was like probably right before we released. It was a Sunday where I kind of fell apart, and we both kind of lost track that it was Sunday,
Yeah.
and neither of us reached out. And I actually told her, I'm like, oh, I just didn't hear from you, so I didn't bother. And she's like, well, don't do that, because if you remembered, call. Don't just be like, oh, the other person hasn't bothered, I'm not going to bother either, because that, again, it came back to that ego. So I had to check myself, and we had to come to the conclusion the main focus is the business. If it comes to the business, you want to talk about anything related to the business, put all that personal shit aside. Come to and have the conversations that need to be had. If it's related to the business, talk. If
Yeah.
I mention that, hey, I completely lost track, or hey, why didn't you call me yesterday, have those conversations. uh, get perfectly comfortable with getting so fucking uncomfortable with each
Yeah.
other that you get to learn more things about yourself, because
Yeah.
that's really what's the journey. Besides starting this together and having these great conversations with your friend, we've learned so much about ourselves, and we're improving. Like every single day we're doing something different now.
100%.
Yeah.
That is actually, I couldn't have said it better. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Get perfectly uncomfortable. Get perfectly comfortable with getting uncomfortable.
Yeah, especially with this friend, because again, it's friends and family. It's awkward. You've had the years long of a relationship, and now you're kind of diving into a new uh, path, and you want to make sure the path is set up for you to actually walk through, and you're not going to stumble. One person's not going to fall off onto the side, and
Yeah.
you're not going to be there to pick them up. So it's not hand holding, but it is hand holding, because you're going on this walk together at the end of the day. So you
Yeah,
have to
because
pick each other up if one's falling off, and
totally.
also have respect in that sense. So communicate. Don't hold off anything, which I'm working on daily. Like I said, start working on communicating anything. That don't have scattered thoughts. Try to put it together and have a conversation with the person at least that you're doing business with.
You
Because
know what is so interesting is that part in particular. A lot of times I think that we're afraid to open up and have conversations with the people that we are either in business with or in relationships with, because we think that it's going to like trigger an argument. And I think that Serena realized very quickly that she can tell me when
Yeah.
she's feeling something. I remember there's one particular day she was like, hey, I have something on my mind. We were sitting in her car and she was like,
I got her to come over. I was like, yeah, you can just come over. She sat there
she
like,
was like,
it took me a minute to get comfortable to talk
no,
to her.
there was one time in her car where she was like, hey, like we were just talking and she goes, hey, I have something that I want to talk to you about. She goes, and I could tell she was like really nervous and
Oh,
she was
yes.
wanting to
Yes.
talk about something, right? It was very private, but it was like something she wanted to, and she goes,
Oh, it was froze
I've been
again.
I've been afraid to like tell you like what's been on my mind. And at the end of it, I just listened and I was like, yeah, like absolutely. And she was like, oh my God, like, I can't believe that you're able to hear me
Take it
out,
all in.
to take it
Yeah.
all in. Because oftentimes in our experiences, with friends, it's like the second that you say what's on your mind, it's an argument. And it can't,
Yes.
and you know what I mean? And that's why we shy away from opening up to people. And I'm one of those
Exactly.
people that believes that, hey, listen, if somebody has something to say to me about anything, one, this is going to be really good for, and this is like my life coach hat that comes on, right? Like I can't help
And
it.
that's another, and I was going to say, this is because she's done work on herself. This isn't like, or I wouldn't be able to, I don't open up to people that I know aren't ready to take it in. There's people that are part of your life that you love them and everything. They've been there, but they also have to do some work on themselves, which she's been doing for years because she's gone through crazy stuff. And it's the results of that. It's the fruits of all that work she is doing. That's why she's able to take it in. Just like I have started to check my ego and listen to other people letting me know when I'm fucking up.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: you can't be a life coach if you're not able to deal with conflict. Like it just, I would never be able to say that. Like, listen, I want to take clients because if I can't deal with my own conflict, I can't help them deal with theirs, right?
Yeah.
So if somebody has any sort of feedback for you or a close one is like, listen, I really have something that's been bothering me and I need you to hear it. One, take yourself out of the equation and understand that the person in front of you is healing something right now, and for them to take the step to speak to you, you got to almost be their cheerleader even in that moment, even though it's about you. You have to be like
No.
cheering them on, like, yo, listen, I know that you're about to talk mad shit about me right now, but I'm so
Yeah.
happy for you because I know that this isn't easy.
And no, it only like you got to do some work to get to that point. I
Yeah.
can't even say that I'm gonna, like, if somebody tells me that I'm gonna be comfortable, that's hard talking for herself and for people that are willing to work on themselves, because I'm on that path, like, where I
Mhm.
want to be able to listen to any feedback,
Yeah.
shitty or good.
Listen to any, it's like your defenses go up naturally, but in that moment you have to make a decision to check it if you want the best
Yeah.
conclusion from that conversation. Because one, I see Serena, I'm like, she's tense, she's nervous, she's really been like wanting to talk to me about this, and in this moment I know she's going to say something that's feedback for me, but
Mhm.
first and foremost, I'm going to cheer her on to open up because this is good for her, because I can see it. So boom,
Yeah.
here's the first thing, right? You take yourself out of the equation. Second,
Yeah.
you get yourself prepared to hear the feedback. And when you hear the feedback, don't have a knee-jerk reaction to respond. You actually got to listen and take it in, because you know what? It's probably really valid. It's probably true. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like we want to defend ourselves, but you're defending yourself against your bullshit. Like why? Like actually listen to it,
Straight up. Yeah.
because you have things to improve on, and you're literally just doing yourself, you're literally self-sabotaging
Yep.
everything that's about to happen. Because when she's telling me things that I need to work on, she's literally was telling me things that I already knew, and she was already in my head. And for me, I said to her, I was like, the fact that you were able to pick this up, that this is going on for me right now, is huge, because it's a red alarm that the thoughts that are in my mind that I'm dealing with, I'm struggling with, are becoming so transparent that it shows on the outside clearly. I
Yeah.
mean, clearly it's a sign to me that I've been trying to hide something for too long.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
now showing on the outside, and now I have to come clean with what's going on in my life,
It's
right?
showing up in your actions. That's when it messes up.
And it's
Yeah.
showing up, right? And I had to tell her, I was like, dude, I thought I was like holding it together, I thought that I was keeping these secrets within me for so long,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize that they're actually coming through in these ways. And now you as a friend, you're able to see that there's something not quite right. And she
Yeah.
literally said to me, she was like, I feel like there's something not quite right with you. Like there's
Mm.
something inside of you that's checked out, and I don't know what it is. And I had put on a mask for so long that I'm like, I'm on. But she's
Yeah.
able to pick up on that, right? And I
Yeah.
couldn't get mad. Like I would be an idiot for getting upset at her for that, because it's the truth, right? If I say something to Serena, hey Serena, I have this feedback for you, and she throws up a defense and says da 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 da
Mm.
da, she's literally just fucking up her own growth.
Yep.
Like
Yep. That's it. That's all I'm doing. Yeah.
you're literally
Exactly.
just telling me
Mhm.
that, like, okay, no, like
Gotta
I
let
rather,
go.
I don't want to work on this. Because
Yeah.
here's the thing, your business partner, your friends, your loved ones, when they're pointing things out in
Shit,
you,
it froze again.
oh
Sorry, guys. I'm not sure if you're able to,
no,
but
you're good,
we're
you're
gonna
good.
keep this going.
When
You know how?
am I freezing?
Let's see when she comes back.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys are able to
Uh-oh.
hear me, but
I can hear, Serena, I can hear you. I can hear you. I don't know. Sorry, guys. Um, hmm. My connection's fine, Serena.
it's yeah, keep cutting out a bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
That's
guys,
fine.
she's on the screen twice.
Oh shit, am I on there twice now?
I
God,
think it might be your internet.
it might be yo, because I'm cutting off Shaw, and I think they're messing
Okay,
up my thing.
you're good now. Um, so I was just saying that um, your friends, your family, your loved ones, your business partners, people that you can point out in your life that genuinely care about you, when they give you feedback, most of the time, they're pointing out things in you that you cannot see in yourself. They are your blind spots. Pay attention to your blind spots, because the reason why you have friends in your life, the reason why you should have people in your life, is to
Yeah.
point out the things in you that you cannot see in yourself. That's what a coach does, at least, right? They are someone that looks at the things that you're not seeing and putting them in front of you. And that
Or
is your opportunity to take those things and be like, oh shit, maybe I need to work on this.
or you that you're literally purposely putting blinders on, just like your defense mechanism, and not
100%.
wanting to work on those things.
100%. And if you have a good business partner, they will point these things out in you, right? And we both had to take on that role. We
Yeah.
both had to point things out in each other and be like, listen, like, here's the thing, this is what I'm seeing. And always bring it back to the fact that A, you care about the person, and B, you want the business to succeed.
Yeah. What's the main purpose of this conversation? It's because we have a bigger purpose than just the two of us.
Yeah. And it's not just the business, it's the idea behind the business. It's the movement behind the business. We came into this business because we want other people to succeed. We want other people to feel supported. And if we're not doing that for each other, then our movement is just basically a bunch of BS.
Well, then, yeah, then we're doing what a lot of people do, is just say bullshit that we're not even doing ourselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We had to really, like, we know a lot of you in business probably have to deal with other people. Even if you're not directly in business with a close one, you still form relationships with other people you're in business with. And so for us to say that it has not been challenging would be a complete lie. But for us
Yeah.
to also tell you that we've actually had really challenging conversation, and this is what you
Yeah.
got to do, that would be the truth,
Yeah. Yeah. No,
right?
you have to. Yeah.
And so we know that it can be done. We had a couple of like pointers. We just wanted to talk about, like, I guess we covered these too, right? Communication
Yeah.
is a priority. Schedule it in if you have to. Don't just start a business because you're friends. Start
Yes.
a business because you actually can do business with each other.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I've been in business with another friend. We did a communications and PR business together, and it just wasn't going to work. And I was like, I don't want to do this, because being friends is not the prerequisite to go in
Yeah.
business.
Perfect word. That could exactly. Don't just assume you can go into business with whoever. You have to
Yeah,
make sure you mesh and you are like-minded and you have the same goal.
yeah. And Serena and I, like, we align on those things, right? be honest, even if it possibly hurts the other person, because you know what hurts them even more? You not telling them what they need to work on.
And that
Because,
also hurts you.
yeah, when
Like
you
people,
think about it, somebody pointed this out the other day that we were talking about this very topic. When you are afraid to tell another person what they're doing is not so great, why are you afraid to tell them?
yeah.
You're afraid to tell them, most likely because you're afraid of getting into conflict,
Yeah.
right?
Selfish. You end up
It's
at the end of the day, it comes back to you.
selfish.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
your fear of being in conflict is more important to you than their potential growth.
Yes, exactly. And that's another thing. Know your honesty hopefully only brings growth. And that's
100%.
luckily like we're doing our own work, but that's the only benefit I feel like I've gotten out of this, out
Yeah,
of the 5 months of different going back and forth and expressing feelings is more growth. That's it. And the
100%.
best thing you take away from staying honest. In every relationship, you should stay honest and communicate anything that's on your mind, period.
Exactly, right? And then when you can figure out the person that you're with, assign tasks according to their strength.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
reason why you're in business with another person is not so that both of you know how to do everything. It's because the other person brings a skill to the table that makes it easier for you to be in business. They take certain things off of your load.
Play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And know that if you're a controlling person, you're going to have to let go of a little bit of a control because the whole reason for you to say yes to something to join in with like for you to say yes to another person to go into business, you have to let go of control. Don't think you can control every situation. Like I have a little bit of control issue at times, I feel. I've been told that, so I'm going to go with it because other people tell you. But that's the thing. I have to work on that. No, I can't control every outcome. I can't control the whole thing because at the end of the day, again, this is called business with friends. It's not business with Serena. I have that. I already control that. That's face your mirage. Follow me there. And I'm already doing that. So don't bring that type of mentality into this because this now you have another human who's bringing, like she said, a total different package that you don't need to bring.
Yeah,
So
you can
this is
chill on that side of things.
yeah, chill, work on the thing you're great at, and that person can provide what they're best at, and that's the best of both worlds.
100%, right? Because then it actually becomes your business becomes better because there's somebody else that brings in like a completely different style of things,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about it. Like allow this is the biggest thing, like allow the other person to flourish in what they know how to flourish in,
Yeah.
and you will be forever grateful, right?
Yeah.
um Tough conversations need to happen. We talked about that. And then
Yeah.
finances, discuss that shit early. Like
Yeah.
that, those important things that comes to business, like money, just get
Yeah.
out of the way, man. Don't assume that, you're going to have this conversation 6 months, a year later, and
Yeah.
you're supposed to be on the same page. When you decide to go in business with friends, talk about it.
It's a business. At the end of the tree, get a contract. I don't think we signed one, but we've
We
discussed
drew it
it.
up.
We did do. So there you go. I remember bringing that up, and we did that from day one, just to
Yeah.
make sure that we mentally we know this is not just like we're just gonna diddle and doodle here and that's it. It's a business, and we're gonna give it our all and hope for the best and do our best. And that we had to come up with, that was the first thing, put it into contract. This is a contract. This ain't no Serena hard thing on the side on the weekends. No, this is a business. So that literally we did a
We
contract.
sat on my kitchen table. I remember that night. We sat on my kitchen table, and it was a contract that was created by the both of us equally. I remember saying to Serena, like, "Hey, what are your expectations? These are my expectations. These are my goals. Your goals, are they aligned?" And like we literally formatted that into a Google Doc, shared it with each other, so that if shit ever goes awry, we have something to look back at and be like, "Remember, this is something that was agreed upon. Like we talked about this, right?" I mean, in the sense that we didn't like sign it and all that kind of stuff, but that's besides the point, because we know each other enough to know, like, okay, this is exactly like what we know we want to build this business off of,
Yeah.
right?
And we knew that we needed to put a little seriousness on it and
Yeah.
that contract and talking about those and finances, who's going to be paying what, who can, like all these things.
Yeah.
Finance is huge. Finances could be, we're going to talk about finances one day for sure. Because
Exactly.
finances in a business and personal, that could be a couple episodes on its own. But finances usually is the number one thing that messes up business with friends or family because it always causes issues. Money is, money causes issues at the end of the day. Yeah, it brings a lot of freedom, but it takes a lot of freedom away too. So that's a big one.
Yeah.
Finances have to be discussed for sure. So
Your relationship with money has to be something that you get just as clear about as you do with your friends. Because money
exactly
can cause a lot of problems in the sense if you don't know how to have a relationship with it.
that.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like it's the same thing with like our personal friendships. If we don't know how to have a friendship, like I literally think of a relationship with money as the exact same as my relationship
that,
with everything else.
that's crazy. I don't know if I've heard of that before, but that's a great analogy or a great way to put it because it makes really good sense.
Like every struggle that I've had with money has only made my relationship with money stronger. The same with friendships. Any
Yeah,
challenges that we've run into with our
yeah,
friendship relationship, it's like
yeah,
it depends, right? It depends if you actually want to take the time to get a lesson out of it. Because at the end of the day, money is not the thing that does anything. Money is just paper. It's there.
yeah,
It's us
yeah.
that creates everything. It
Problem.
literally is just an object. It's like money is not a human that has a voice. It literally just sits around and we put a story on top of it.
Yeah. No.
Right? We create the issue and we create the success. So it's like
Yeah.
if we can just understand that any struggle that we have with money, we can pick up a lesson out of it and do better, it will do good things for us. Same thing with our business and our friendships. If we run into issues, we're going to have to figure it out and we're going to have to, become better for it. So yeah, finances, all those sort of things. So
Yeah.
we just want to encourage you to like you have to become really clear with the fact that things are going to get uncomfortable sometimes, but
Yeah.
we're willing. First of all, in business, even if you're in business by yourself, the first step is to understand that you're going to have personal challenges, and that's okay. It's called growth. Now you
Yeah.
add another person into it, and on top of that, a person that you're close to, you're
Yeah.
upping the ante. But not only are you upping the ante, you're also building the potential for a lot more success. So,
Yes. Yeah.
right, as challenging as it can be just that much fruitful. I'm waiting for the day that we are just like on top of our game in business and me and Serena are on like a vacation with like our other friends and we can just sit back and laugh and be like, man, we've done so well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'll be
And
worth it.
hopefully it starts at this. You gotta plant the seeds, and I feel like that's all we did for the first 5 months of putting in the work was
A lot of walks.
a lot of walks and a lot of conversations, a lot of communication had to happen for us to be right here doing what we're doing right now. And there's probably going to be thousands of more conversations. We're going to be growing and we're going to be gaining and losing every single day for the rest of our lives. So there's going to be times we're still going to need to be checked. And that's a reality too. We're not all perfect. That's a good to go now. No, we're going to be checking ourselves regularly. It's just the first 5-6 months we got to know each other, to know that we're not here to get each other. We're here to actually only improve and give each other growth. Like she said, if you don't want to listen and take it in and grow from it, you're doing disservice to yourself. So there's no, put that ego aside, work on putting that ego aside and listening, especially to the people that are closest to you or that are in your life and making an effort to be in your life. Listen to those people because they see you completely different from what you think you see yourself as.
Exactly. Yeah, I completely agree. You know what? We know this is one of our longer episodes, but it's okay because there's so much here and
Yeah.
it's an important topic. If we just like chalk this down to a 20-minute episode, we'd be doing a huge disservice because this is something that really, really, really needs to be given the respect and time because it's a big topic.
And we do apologize for the freezing. Hey, that's not us, that's Zoom. I'm not going to blame, actually, it might be internet. I'm cutting off my existing company and changing it to a new one, and they started slowing my internet down. No joke.
Get rid of your guys' idea of the fact that things are going to be perfect always.
Exactly. And nothing's going to go according to how you plan it. Do not plan an outcome to something that hasn't happened. That's another thing I'm working on.
And you know what? You cannot control these sort of like circumstances. The only thing that you need to work on is how quickly you're able to adapt to shit not working.
Yes. Yes.
When we froze and you hopped off, I just kept talking. I was like, she'll be back.
I was talking on my side because you were frozen on my end, and I'm just like, sorry guys. So but so we have no idea what you're gonna end up getting, but I know we dropped some gems because it literally came from the heart and true experience we went through, and we know others go through it. And just know that yes, you can do business with friends, you can do it with anybody that you want to, but no, you're gonna have to check yourself regularly.
1,000%. Yep.
And don't be scared of checking yourself. You're only gonna grow from that. Don't think you're doing disservice. Don't think your ego, putting your ego down, is making you a target. No, you're actually gonna. Well, you can make yourself a target, but make sure you grow from the shit that's being told to you. That's it.
Agreed. Oh, I love that, man. I feel this is like therapy for us.
No, it really is. It gets so many things off of your mind, and I wouldn't want to have these conversations with anybody else than this patient person right here. No, man, find people that bring the other half and kind of give you what you're lacking. And I feel like we luckily, like, we're such opposites, but we have respect and we've had a bond, so it's great to do this. But just be mindful of always communicating and making sure that having those conversations and schedule shit in. Don't treat business like schedule it in. Every day, 5 days a week, whatever works for you. Do what you have to schedule it in. So
and you know what, one thing I just realized is like the person you pick as your business partner is almost just as important as the person you pick to be in a relationship with, because the qualities have to be the same. One, you struggle with like communication issues you got to work through, right? And two, pick somebody who has the things that you're lacking. So that you can put a puzzle piece together. I swear, if Serena was a guy, I'd probably just date her.
Probably. I'll probably Mac on her for sure. Okay. That will be another conversation. But thank you guys so much. This was amazing. This was a good episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please make sure you subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and make sure you subscribe. Like I said, we come back every Wednesday. We have a new episode coming out next Wednesday. But every Wednesday we have a new episode. Make sure you subscribe and leave us comments. Let us know. Like our videos. Please give us thumbs up if you enjoy the episodes, and anything you pick up from, let us know what you find useful. Yeah.
Okay. Love you guys.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye.
Peace.